Welcome back. This year is dedicated to Schus for Refuah Shlema for Mordechai Yudalei ben Rivka, together with others in Klal Yisrael and neither Refuah. The Ibshah should send them a speedy recovery quickly. In the previous shiurim, we learned that Matza, according to the Chinuch, it reminds us of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and through the reminder of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, it instills within us emunah in the Ibshter. And that's the reason why it's called Michla de Mehim Nusa. But according to the Chinuch, it reminds us about the story, and through the story, we have greater faith in the Eibishter. According to the Zohar, on the other hand, the mere eating matzah, that in itself, just the eating of the matzah, instills within us emunah in the Eibishter. And the question that we proposed in the previous Ois, in Ois Aleph, was what is emunah? And we explained that emunah is not just believing in the Eibishter, that the Eibishter gives sustenance to the world, because that is yediyah, that is knowing, its understanding, meaning to say that we don't really need to have faith in that because it's logical, it's rational. So what is emunah? In what do we believe in? We said that we believe in that the Eibishter is far greater and more exalted than anything than that we can understand. And we explained it as in Erasiv Kalalmin, that the Eibishter is, so to speak, his light, his energy, is abstract from the world, is separated from the world. It's something that we do not see, and it's something that is hard to connect to unless one leaves his own mitzarim, his own mitzrayim, his own boundaries and confinement. In this ois, in ois base, in the Maimer Derech Mitzvosecha on Daf Chav Gimel, we began, and this is where we concluded in the previous year, is that between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah, Bnei Yisrael ate matzah, and that gave them that emunah, that gave them that faith in the Eibishter. And the question we asked in the previous year was, what is in the ingredients in matzah that gives us emunah? What's so special, what's so unique about the matzah, that the matzah gives us emunah? And here's where we're going to continue. We are, as we said on page Chav Gimel, Ois Beis, we are 3 lines from the Ois, but we'll begin it again. V'zeu Mitzvas Vachilas matzah. This is the mitzvah of Vachilas matzah, of eating matzah. Shenitztavu b'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim, that b'nei Yisrael were commanded in Mitzrayim, ki Mitzrim, or Mitzrayim, he mechusri amono hanal. The Mitzrim, the whole concept of Mitzrayim and the Mitzrim was that they lacked faith in the Eibishter. They lacked emunah. Ulahoitzi b'nei Yisrael mizah, and in order to remove the Yidden out of such a state of lacking emunah, lahaviom le'emunah amitis hanal, in order to bring them to the true faith, which is that the Eibishter is exalted and it's far beyond comprehension, really. Hoya yedei matzah, that happened through matzah, which matzah is shehi hanikras michla de meim nusa, which matzah is called food of faith. Sheba ve'al yodo yagiu v'tikva b'libaysim emunazu, that through the matzah and by the matzah, as we explained previously, that is according to both shittas, through the matzah itself we remember the story, and the matzah itself, according to the Zohar, feeds us emunah, and that's why it's called michla de mehim nusa. V'inyon yuvon al pi maimer hazal. So we're going to continue. We're going to understand according to what the Chazal tell us. Ein hatinoi ki yidea likris abba ve'imo at sheyitim tam dogan. The Gemara in Brachos tells us that a child does not know how to call Abba and Imo, which means to literally call Tati, Mami, Father, Mother, etc., until they taste Tam Dogon, until they taste some grain in their mouth, meaning until they begin to eat. Question is, what's so unique about Dogon? What's so unique that the child does not call to his parents until he begins to eat? And why is it Dafke Tam Dogon? And what does it mean that a child Bechlal calls to his parents Abba ve'Ima? What does that mean? And why is it that in every household, in every family, the first words that a baby utters is the word Tati or Mami? We all know that we have younger siblings or we have nephews and nieces, and the first time they open up their mouth and they say something, it's Tati or Mami or Ma, Ta, something like that. And everybody gets excited. Oh, he said his first word. She said her first word. There's an excitement there because that's the first words they say. And what do we see? What's the first words? They actually say Abba ve'Ima. And why is it that it takes Dafka after the Toyim Tam Dagon, that's when they begin to say Abba Vima. And what's the reason why they say Abba Vima, the first thing? And this is what we're going to explain over here in the Maimer, in this ois, because really it's going to explain to us that what does matzah do? The fact that we eat matzah, it helps us call Abba Vima as well, as we're going to see in the Maimer. Ve'inei, inyin kriyose Abba Vima, achar teimose tam dagon. This calling of a child, of a baby, that calls Tati and Mami after he eats grain, dagon, eino yedio v'asog hamitis. It's not that the child literally comprehends the concept of Tati and Mami. Eino yedio v'asog hamitis ma'u oviv shehu heyoisoi molidoi v'chayotze. The calling of a child when he calls Tati and Mami, it's not that he understands fully and comprehends. Oh, he's saying Tati, what does Tati mean? Tati means that he's my father, he's the one who is my root, that's where I come from, and his mother is the one who gave birth to him. He spent 9 months in his mother's womb, and they developed this child, and that he is misharshay of his parents, and that his tnuis, his behavior, his talents, his abilities come and stem from the parents. That's not what the baby comprehends. Obviously. The baby, all the baby is saying is Tati and Mami. He doesn't understand that his Taka comes from the mind of the father, like the Alter Rebbe explains in Perek Beis in Tanya. And that the nature of his father, the Rachmanis of his father, that his father has mercy to give him sustenance and to feed him and to give him money and to take care of him and whatever else, as we see that our parents do for us. As we get older, we understand it more and more. Why is it? The child, the baby, doesn't realize and recognize all this. Rather, he only calls him Tati. And the true meaning of the word Tati and Mami and what they represent is far beyond the comprehension of this baby. Ve'im kol zeh ein loymar shelo higia shum akara b'daiti shari makirui ba'akara gmura v'lo yifna achar zelose. Says the Maimer that, with that said, even though he doesn't come to the full comprehension of understanding what a Tati is or what a Mami is and what they represent, we can't say that he does not understand at all what the meaning of the word father and mother is. And the reason for that is because he only refers to his parents as Tati and Mami, and he won't mix them up with anybody else. He won't defer to anyone else and say Tati and Mami to somebody else that's not his parents. Which means that even though he didn't come into the depth, the baby doesn't understand the depth of what his parents represent. And only when he gets older, he'll understand it, as we see soon, it develops in his mind. But nonetheless, when he calls to his parents, the reason why he calls to his parents is because there is somewhat in his mind, something that he recognizes about his parents, that his parents are different than anybody else. That it's his parents, and that it's his father and mother, and that's why he calls to them. V'hainu, and what does this mean? That this true knowledge, which is far greater than the grasp of the baby, and it was nislavish, it enclosed betzimtzum on a much lower scale into the mind of the baby. Until he will comprehend the true meaning, even though it's beyond his grasp. What does that mean? Says, because through this actual calling to his father, when he says Tati, it has all the definitions that a grown-up understands in that word Tati. In other words, what's the difference between a baby calling Tati, and an adult calling Tati? An adult calling Tati, father, he understands the Idach Perusha, the whole meaning of the word, of what his father represents or what his mother represents, and when he calls his parents, it comes with the entire weight of what his parents represent. A baby says the same word. It's the same word which has the same meaning, but it's far beyond his comprehension, but yet he uses the same word, he uses the same phrase. So, really, even though the baby just says the word tati and the word mami, we have to say that in there, it entails, it has within it, it holds within it, the entire definition of the word tati, even though he doesn't understand it at the moment. And what is this like? Somebody who learns halacha with a child, with a young kid, which he conceals all the depth of the halacha. He tells him in the abbreviated version, he tells him what the halacha is. And this is also through mishalim, through anecdotes and stories and parables, in order for the child to understand, so the baby can understand in his mind. And with all this, what does he really understand? He understands psak halacha and the way it is, the tachlis of the psak halacha, the way it is decided through all the depth, through all the perushim and all the mefarshim. He understands it's the way it is. As it's written in the Gemara Sukkah, it explains that taking something through something else, it's considered the lekicha, which means, with regards to lekachtem, so even though he doesn't understand fully and doesn't comprehend the full meaning of the word tati and mami, or the full comprehension of the halacha, but being that he takes the halacha the way it is, it has within it, it entails all the mefarshim and all the perushim to the bottom line halacha, and that's what he takes with him, and that's how he comprehends the halacha, and that's how he relates to that halacha. So basically, just because a child says tati does not mean that he lacks in the meaning of the word tati. He may not understand it, but he doesn't lack in the depth in what the tati represents. As a parent myself, when I teach my children to do a mitzvah, take for example the mitzvah of negel right? So they go to Netilas Yadayim. So they go and they know that you have to wash before Hamoitzi. You have to wash 3 times on one hand, 3 times on the other hand. Negel in the morning, they wash one on this end, one on this end, and back and forth. B'serugim. The child could turn to me and say, why? Which, like every child, asks why. And he may not understand if I start telling him all the mefarshim, the mefarsh like this and mefarsh like this. We just came down from Beis Nissen. We know the story. The Rebbe Rashab once, by his 12th birthday, as a preparation for his bar mitzvah, he came to the Rebbe Marash, and he asked the Rebbe Marash for advice for a chana for his bar mitzvah. So the Rebbe Marash gave him a seder al limud and told him he should learn Shulchan Aruch aliba de Chisa. He should learn Shulchan Aruch of Rabbi Chaim, day-to-day life halachas, and Pasha to train his body to follow Shulchan Aruch. Later on, many years later, there was one time that Rebbe Rashab came, it was already Rebbe, and he came to wherever it was, I don't recall the details of the story, but he was there with the Chassidim, and the Chassidim noticed that the Rebbe Rashab was washing his hands 3 times on each hand. At the time, up until the Rebbe Rashab, the halacha states that you have to wash twice on each hand, not 3 times on each hand. But here they saw the Rebbe Rashab washing 3 times on the right and 3 times on the left for Hamoitzi. And they wondered, this is a novelty, a chiddush. So one of the chassidim turned after Hamoitzi, one of the chassidim turned to Rebbe Rashab and asked, where is the makir or the explanation behind why the Rebbe Rashab washed 3 times on each hand? And the Rebbe Rashab thought, and told him, I don't know the makir at the moment. I don't remember where the source of it is from. But I can tell you one thing, that since the age of 12 years old, the Rebbe Rashab was mechanech, he educated his body that it should follow halacha. That means that it's second nature to him, so to speak. That everything he does is al pi Shulchan Aruch. So if the Rebbe Rashab washed 3 times on each hand, it means there's somewhere a makir, a source for it in Shulchan Aruch. So back to what we're saying in the Maimer. A child that comes and asks, so why do I have to wash 3 times on each hand? Why is it not enough once? Or why not twice? So to go back and forth with all the Piskedidim and all the Mefarshim who say you should do like this, you should do like that, is it once enough? Do you have to use water? You need a full hand? Do you have to keep it with a napkin on it? To go all the details of halacha, he may not understand. The child perhaps and most likely will not understand. What do they understand? They understand usually the psak halacha the way it is. You tell him you have to wash 3 times on the right, 3 times on the left. Oh, they understand it. So really, when you tell them that this is how you have to wash, it really entails within it everything, all the mefarshim, all the perushim, and all the information that you as a teacher know. You didn't impart this wisdom on them, and they don't know all the details and all the back and forth. It's fine. But that halacha, that psak halacha, it has within it everything that Torah's Moshe Sinai. They have everything from Torah, from the Moshe Rabbeinu, up until that point. And the same is true when a child calls Abba and Ima. Even though the child doesn't really understand and comprehend what his father and mother represent, and what his parents, and why his parents have mercy on him, and why they feed him, and why they take care of him, and sustain him, and do everything for him, and why they give their life for them. He may not understand it as a 8-month-old baby or a 2-year-old boy. He may not understand it. But the mere calling Tati, Mami, that entails everything that we spoke about. It has all the pirushim in those words. And here's where the Tzemach Tzedek continues. We're on top of page 46. And so too is the calling of Tati and Mami. That the child calls through his tasting of the grain. That once he tastes this food, as we're going to see soon what's so special about it, but once he tastes grain, which means wheat, barley, etc., that's when he calls them. Uveloy hadogon, what's mashma from this Maimer Nizal? Uveloy hadogon, loy hayo yedea mizel gamre. Seemingly, because they say that a child starts calling Abba v'Ima tam dogon, until he starts tasting tam dogon, until he starts tasting the taste of grain. That means to tell us that before he tastes the taste of grain, he does not have this comprehension of saying Tati and Mami. And through eating the grain, through eating bread, etc., now he has this information with him. Shehi be'emes migadlu sadas elo shelush belo bekatlu sadas kanal. Truthfully, this is from gadlu sadas, which enclosed itself, which had lowered itself to katlu sadas. Gadlu sadas and katlu sadas are two categories or musagim, two inyanim, two ideas. Gadol Sadas means understanding, a broad understanding, which adults have, which parents have, or as the extreme, that a person is not kol madai to the rabbi adar boim shnin. Until 40 years, a person doesn't really comprehend his teacher's knowledge. It takes up until the 40th year. And then there's katnos samoichin, katnos sadas, which means a child, or it could be somebody who's child in wisdom, child not necessarily in age, but in knowledge. Katnos sadas means somebody who does not have a full comprehension. So this word Abba Imo, or through the dogon, the child calls Abba V'Imo, which has Gadu Samoichin, Gadu Sadas, which has great knowledge and great understanding within this word Abba, but it's a Shpil, the Katnos Sadas, which condensed itself and lowered itself into Katnos Sadas, into a much lower a much lower scale of knowledge into this child's understanding. So Katnos Sadas and Katnos Sadas, these are Musagim and Chassidus, which are referencing to the broadness of a person's ability in his knowledge. What is this reasoning? Why is it that the dogon has such power? The grain has such power? Well, the fish because its root, the grain's root, is in chokhmah, is in wisdom, and the sfiras chokhmah, as it's known from the Arizal, on the bracha of hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. To understand what we just said, we introduce a Pri-Eitz Chaim. Pri-Eitz Chaim was a sefer written by Rabbi Chaim Vital. Rabbi Chaim Vital was one of the greatest Talmidim of the Arizal. The Arizal, we know the history of the Arizal lived a very short life. And in his short life, he managed to become the founder of Teres HaKabbalah, and he introduced more thoughts of Kabbalah that impacted the world thereafter more than anybody that preceded him. The Teres HaKabbalah, according to the Arizal, and we know that the Baal Shem Tov quoted it, and the Rebbe quoted it many, many times. The Arizal came out with the quote, Mitzvah legali zois chachma. It's a mitzvah to spread out this wisdom, to reveal this wisdom. And the Arizal began to teach the masses, or at least his Talmidim, and eventually it led to be taught in the masses, especially in Chabad. The idea of Kabbalah, Teres HaKabbalah, which means the cryptic in the code of the Torah. So the Rabbi Chaim Vital, the student of the Arizal, Rabbi Chaim Vital, he recorded the Torah of his teacher of the Arizal. And he recorded it in a sefer called Eitz Chaim. The Eitz Chaim is divided, the sefer is divided into three. And pre-Eitz Chaim, the one that we're discussing over here, primarily focuses on davening and brachis and different mitzvahs, and it explains them al pi Kabbalah. There's a Eitz Chaim, the actual sefer Eitz Chaim, which primarily focuses on the Oilamos and Sfiris Elyonos and different heavenly the heavenly Shtalshalus Inyanim. The Pri Eitz Chaim focuses on davening. He has another one, I think it's called Noif Chaim, that or Anaf Chaim maybe, that focuses on Neshamis and Gilgulim and things like that. But Pri Eitz Chaim is the one that we're discussing over here, which is where this quote of Dogon comes from Shorsha is Bechachma is quoted over there. And over there he explains, just briefly, that there are two types of brachas. There's a bracha that we daven in Shmoneh Esrei, and we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu V'Elokei Aviseinu Elokei Avram Elokei Yitzchak Elokei Yaakov. And he explains how the sequence of the words, each word represents another sphira, and how these spheres, how they interact with the worlds. So you have in Shmoneh Esrei, which, if you think about it, we say like this: Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu V'Elokei Aviseinu, our God, the God of our Father, and then it goes Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, and it seems like if you think about it, it works milamata l'mayla. It starts from Elokeinu, so to speak, and over there in Pri Eitz Chaim, Reb Chaim Vital writes it that from Baruch, the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Aviseinu works milamata l'mayla. It works from the lowest sphira, so Baruch would be Malchus, and it works its way up through the spheres, that when we're davening, we're basically, what's the whole concept of davening? The difference between Limud HaTorah and Avodas HaTfilah, we know in Chassidus, the Rebbe's Maimorim, many of them, is that Avodas HaTfilah is milamata l'mayla, and Limud HaTorah is milamayla l'mata. Limud HaTorah is we're learning the Eibishter's Chachma, we're bringing, what is the Eibishter's wisdom, and we're bringing it down to our level. What's davening? Davening is when we go and we take our heart and pour our heart to the Eibishter. It means that we are working l'mayla, we are working milamata l'mayla, we're working our way up. And that's why the Baruch and Shmoneh Esrei, when we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu V'Elokei Aviseinu, it works its way up through the spheres. That's one type of bracha. And he continues and he says there's another type of bracha, and that's Birchas Hanenin, when we say a bracha on food. And that is milamayla l'mata. It's not milamata l'mayla, but it's milamayla l'mata. It descends down from heaven. What does that mean? He says the Baruch refers to a high level of Chachma. And then Atah, and then Hashem. What do we see? What do we say? Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. Our God, meaning the God of the Eden, Elokeinu, our Eibishter. Melech HaOlam means the king of the entire world. Melech is Malchus, obviously. HaOlam means it's already Olam HaAsiyah. And then when you start saying any of the foods, we're talking about Asiyah. Any of the types of food is only in Asiyah Gashmis, is in this world. So we see that the bracha really is descending milamayla lamata. I'm not going to get into all the Kabbalistic terms that he uses. But over there, he speaks about the concept of when we say Asher Kedishanu, and what does the word Asher mean? And he says it comes from the word Me'osher Shemeino Lachmoi. Soon we're going to go to, we're saying every day the Nasi now. On the 11th day, which is Yud Aleph Nisan, the Rebbe's birthday, is the Nasi is for Shevet Osher. And Osher is Me'osher Shemeino Lachmoi. Shemeino Lachmoi means his bread is of the best. Shemeino means fat. It's the best. It's the juiciest. It's the best quality. That lechem means, on Kabbalistic terms, what does lechem mean? Lechem means it comes from the highest place. That's what it means. It comes from Chachma. Chachma Chachma is as we explained in the previous stories, one of the shiurim, is that Chachma is the beginning of revelation of the Eibishter. It's that point of Barak HaMavrik. It's that point of the flash of wisdom that eventually gets developed through Bina, etc. So Lechem, Dagon, actually, what does it represent? It represents Chachma. As we said, its Shirish is from wisdom. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is the great Gilui of the Eibishter. It's that point, that little Yud, that, like in Yud Kevavke, the first letter Yud is Chachma, because it's a point, it's a Nekuda. Chachma is the start of the Gilui of the Eibishter. Eventually gets developed. But as we explained in the previous year, that in the Chachma holds within it everything that Bina has. And everything that will be developed later on. It has everything within the Chachma. Which is how we align over here, that the Dagon, through the eating bread, the grain, Dagon is root its Chachma, because when a child eats Dagon, eats grain, which its root is Chachma, and Chachma entails everything within it, has and encloses everything. Everything is enclosed within it. So too, the child, when he eats Dagon, he says Abba and Imo, that everything is part and parcel of that calling to his father and mother. So Hamoitzi Lechem in Aretz, right? So Hamoitzi Lechem Chodu. Let's continue the Maimer. L'shenishbal begashmis, but rather it comes down into a physical world. Shall explain in a moment that through the bread he has koyach to be mamshich the chachma into the child. So to really explain what's going on over here, and this is where we're going to conclude today. In Chassidus, it asks a basic question. The Eibishter created the world in 4 elements. As we know, there's Doimem, Tzemeach, Chaim, Medaber. In 4 categories, I should say. There's Doimem, which is inanimate. It's the rocks, it's the earth, it's things that don't move, things that seemingly don't have life. We know that everything has life, as we explained in the previous ois. Above that, there's Tzemeach, there's vegetation. Above that, there's Chai, which is the animals. And above that, there's Medaber, there's us, the human beings. There's a question asked. How is it possible that Tzemeach, how do we survive? How do we live? How do we have life? Through eating and drinking. How is it that the Tzemeach, the food, the vegetation, or the animal, is giving us chayas? It should be the other way around. Who is higher? The Medaber is a lot greater than the Tzemeach. So how is it possible that the Tzemeach is giving chayas to the Medaber? It should be the other way around. The Medaber gives chayas to the Tzemeach. Well, obviously that's not possible. What does that mean? We should give chayes to the Tzemeach. Tzemeach doesn't have to eat. True. But the idea that the Tzemeach should give us chayes, where does that come from? We should be getting our chayes from a higher source. Which the truth is, it's not like that. That's why we should realize that really where are we getting our chayes from our neshama, which is connected to the Eibush, and that's where our true chayes is coming from. But what do we see? That begashmis, we have to eat and drink. And the question is asked is, why do we have to get our source from something that's lower than us? Elamai, so Kabbalah tells us that really what we see in Tzemeach is not really what we get. Because in there is a spark of Elikus that's from very high. As we see in Lechem and Dagon, there's a spark of Chachma. And therefore it causes that the child should be able to say, Abba v'Imo. It gives him the concept of Chachma in his head. That a child has undeveloped, he doesn't have a developed mind, but when he starts to eat, now his mind is developed. Suddenly, not developed fully, but it's suddenly developed that he could start talking to his parents. That idea is that Tzemeach has within it the spark of a likus that is called Chachma. That has within it. In other words, that what doesn't sound necessarily called Chachma, but it's the idea of Chachma. Chachma has a lot of a likus squeezed into one dot, and that's what happens by the Tzemeach. And through him eating Dagon, it causes him to be able to think and to be able to utter the words Abba Vi. And that's how we're going to lead into soon in a moment. And next year, B'ez Hashem, we're going to lead into the idea that Matza has the same concept. Because Matza is Dagon, and how Matza, dafke through Matza, which is, we know the Matza is not, the dough doesn't rise, the dough stays flat, and Staka Dagon, it's just grain and water. That causes us to have that emunah, which is the same idea as Chochmah, as we're learning over here in the Maimer. So this is where we're going to conclude. That even though the lechem, which is nishbal begashmis, it seems like it's a gashmis, like a piece of bread, how could that give us life? But the truth is, it has within it great ur eliki, has a godly spark within it that gives us chayes to be able to live our lives. I'm going to stop over here. Again, as we concluded in the previous shiurim, may Hashem bless all of us that we should hear only Psuris Tevis, Yeshuas, Refuas, Nechamas, and whatever anybody needs. So the Eibusher should send everybody a refuah, and we should all be zeicher for the coming of Mashiach. May it be bimheira v'yameinu mamish. Take care, and we'll see you next time.